different, all different. And we sent you that list of questions. I guess we'll start there.
We will. Would you guys just do me a favor, because I mean, this is a big deal. You guys committed so much to this thing or whatever. Would you just go around the room and let everybody introduce themselves so I can get to see everybody face to face? And this is I mean, you guys working. I have 30 minutes. If you're going to drive 8 hours down and 8 hours back, I got all the time in the world for everybody. So if everybody wouldn't mind, just get up. I'd love to just see everybody and everybody's face. And if there's only a dozen people, can we do that?
Sure. Can you see me here?
Yep.
All right. I'm Frank Peaveypalooza. I'm from Tickfall, Louisiana, and I have the Mugs kit, the double bass hollow flake 5th anniversary kit, the little blue chrome badge kit, and a complete production size in yellow.
Awesome.
Hi Steve, pleasure to talk to you. My name is Greg Rivers, and I have a Peavey RP1000 in gloss maple, and it's an extreme pleasure to talk to you.
Hey man, same. All right, thank you. Where do you live?
I live in Florence, Mississippi.
Okay, all right, okay, got it, all right.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey.
My name's Brett Cutler. I have a green, the green 20-inch bass kit, and also a natural oil with the 18 and 22 bass, and a 751 kit, and emerald. And I'm from Woodlawn, Illinois.
Cool, all right.
Oh, I'm Randy Hollister. I'm from Streeter, Illinois. I have the clear oil double bass Radial Pro 1000 with one RBS, one 22-inch kick.
All right, cool.
Hey Steven, how's it going, man?
Hey.
I'm Daryl Maxwell. I've got the Bobby Rock Sistine Chapel kit. I've got the
Which is a hell of an accomplishment, let's just say that.
I worked on it a long time to get it, so a lot of money. I've got the Bobby Rock signature snare in brass. I've got.
I'm listening to you. I've got some pictures I want to share, and I've got, just because Bobby is hey, thank you. Just because I have to give Bobby shit because that kid made it out into public domain, which I'm glad that it's being loved and done. But somewhere I have a very embarrassing picture of Bobby. Since this will be all broadcast to the web at some point, you keep talking. I'm going to find it. So I'm listening.
I've got the Bobby Rock Sistine Chapel, the Bobby Rock signature snare. I've got 3 of the 500 series kits. I also have the purple 5th anniversary kit, and I also have a RBS 1000 series in the purple. And that's pretty much all the kits that I've got at this point so far.
All right, I didn't find. I'm gonna keep looking at that picture.
Okay.
The Bobby up with the here we go. I got it's the one with his fanny packs. All right, we're looking for the Bobby Rock incrimination. All right, keep going. Sorry.
Okay, I can say one thing about the 16 kit. I think Jason Sullivan had gotten it, and one thing about that kit, he was very adamant about who got it because of the history of the kit. So he was more, I had to answer kind of a list of questions from Jason before I could he said he didn't want to sell it to some rich 16-year-old kid that would demolish it and tear it up. So,
cool. All right, well done, man. I'm glad it's in great hands.
Thanks, man.
Cool, nice to meet you.
Stephen, we spoke on the phone. Ron Hale. I got three kits, 2 RP1000s and RBS, and of course the Koa snare that I bought from Matt Sorrell.
All right, cool.
Hi, my name's Kevin Wydeck, and I have the 5th anniversary red kit. Just got it.
Cool. Oh, how long?
It's been just a few months ago.
All right, man. Congratulations. Welcome to the party.
Love it.
All right, cool.
And I think that's all of us, Steven.
All right, cool. All right, so on to the questions. I hope that I can. I can't see anybody's faces right now. It's cut off at the.
Well, we're kind of standing around. We want to we have the camera a little closer so we can.
Oh, I got you. Okay, that's fine. Okay, cool. And what go from there? So dang it, Ritzker's knows this production. I actually wrote it down in my office. Production. I should be better off on that. Production begin and end. I'm gonna guys get back to that and try and find exact dates. I went to Peavey in. I signed the contract with Peavey in August of 92. And we went to the first NAMP show in January of that year. And production started in April of the God, I can't believe I got this right. Is that 92 or 93? You guys might know better than I do. So we didn't start production. I went down there in August so we could debut at the show, and then so production didn't start until April. And Ritzkers actually knows the actual end date, and I'll get back to the forum on like when, what was officially the actual end date. And the reason I don't know that because I left Peavey by that time, so I got to talk to Tom about that. But I was actually gone. I will get you guys that information.
The first piece of point of,
go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
The first piece of point of sale we found is dated 1994.
Yes. Okay, so it'd be 94. So 93 and then the April 94. So yeah, it'd be 94, sorry. I think some of the oddest drums were made right out of the box. I'm going to reference Tom Ritzkers a lot on the call, and there's a lot of you guys have questions. I want to get to that, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's important to me too. And one of the things that's really important is to thank Tom. Tom is one of the most tenacious guys I've ever met in my life. I met him at the first NAMM show. He came in the booth. He was right out of Kent State. Graduated with Michael Burritt, under Michael Burritt with a percussion degree from Burritt at Kent State. Who's now at Northwestern, I believe. But he shows up with a resume straight out of college. He's like, hire me. And first NAMM show is a blur to me. And so he calls me up as soon as I get back to Peavey. And like, hey, remember me? I'm the guy. Like, okay, I met more than one person at the NAMM show. I don't remember you at all. And Tom just kept calling me. By the time I could hire somebody, we just talked every day and like that sort of stuff. And that guy's phenomenal. And he's got a great big job now at what was Command and all that sort of stuff. He's very successful. And I want to say hats off for Tom Ritzkers. So you guys can always lean on him as a resource. Tom has got one of those crazy minds like. There's 60 Minutes has done things on like Mary Lou Henner from Taxi, and other famous people where he can remember almost everything. She can remember everything, and Tom's out of his mind. He's a phenomenal guy. So anyway, back to this. When Tom started, he was in there for about a week, and I had to make Robin's first yellow kit, the one with the ad when he's with the sword. If you guys remember that one, okay,
yes.
That Robin of the Hood piece. So I sent Tom over to the factory, started working on that. That kit had some like a gong drum, like I do not know exact size, but you see from the picture, there's like a 22, 24-inch bass drum, but the shell's cut off, so it kind of functions like a gong. And it's designed to mount with get my hands in the frame here, two of the tom mounts on each side, so like, it would suspend that way. We weren't really able to make a lot of interesting, a lot of drums. It's hard to, I have my hard time getting my head around it. When I started, my background, I got real lucky. I met these two guys, Craig Hardy and Larry Kelly down in Shelby, Michigan, and they'd already started Silver Street, which is a company, and they had Dead Ringers and that sort of stuff. It was Craig's company at the time. So I went to my first NAMM show with Dead Ringers and all that stuff when I was really young. And we made solid body electric guitars and did all that stuff. I have somewhere I have pictures here. Like here, when I was 19, I made my first solid body electric guitar. That's me and Tommy Shaw. Which one of us is skinnier, right? Is that not, that's that interesting or what? So, that's an 18 or 19-year-old me drinking Heineken with Tommy Shaw and Tommy Shaw's farm in Niles, Michigan.
Wow.
So I made my first artist model guitar with Tommy, when I was pretty young, working with those guys, and then we went out to make Silver Street guitars, and that's where I really got the drum idea. But we had a shop, and we had routers, and we had stuff, and everybody there was smart. The owners of that company were smart, so we would build stuff. We just make stuff. Okay, somebody get an idea, and you come in on Saturday, you try something. It was usually a train wreck, but you try. Okay, but what I didn't know is like when we got to Peavey, the company was, I showed up with, this, it was completely done when I got to Peavey. All the router programs were done, all the packaging was worked out, the way you guys buy them, the way if you ever bought a drum brand new out of the box, for every single thing from the plastic that went in to how it was suspended inside the box, all that stuff was all worked out, and all the UPS and the FedEx standards, all that was done before I got to Peavey. So Peavey just wanted to make them. So the production side looked at it like, it's very much Peavey Electronics company. So if they're making an amplifier, here's an amplifier, it's been released to production. Peavey's mindset was to just make more of what that was. But for you guys as drummers and me as a drummer and just a tinkerer and inventor, I always wanted to just go make something. Well, my job became the product manager of the drums. Well, none of the other product managers made things. So I wanted to go get dusty and dirty. Well, that wasn't my job anymore. That's production's job. So there's no skunk works, there's no laboratory. The way Peavey would work is that things would go into engineering, get developed, and come out of engineering and go in production. So the drums never were engineered there. They went right into production when I moved down. So there was no, I didn't have as much as a workbench to go over and like make a drum, do something. So experimenting was very, very hard. I had to get paperwork signed to get a shell released out of the warehouse to play with, all those sort of things. So when you guys say to the drums, you got this list and it's great, and I'll do all this sort of thing. But for me, it was always, my job was a political battle, a company that had between 2 to almost 3,000 employees at one point after they bought Crest at the peak of Peavey. It was always the internal meetings and conversations, and that was my job. I wasn't a drum designer anymore. I didn't do those sort of things. Everything changed pretty quick. So we didn't make as many fun drums as we wanted to. Tom and I talked about a lot of things we'd like to make and build, and there's a lot of stuff that really never got out of my head because I just never had that. And then when the Leaksville Drum Factory went in place, that was 100 miles away from Meridian. So if you're going to go down and play around, it's 100 miles down, almost 100 miles, all 2-lane country roads, that sort of thing. So anyway, I have a really long habit of very long answers. So you guys feel free to cut me off at any time because my mouth will go and go. So I apologize. So there wasn't a lot. So like Robin's drum. We made some dot size stuff for Bobby, as you guys are well aware of. There's not a lot else that there wasn't really that much crazy stuff made. Badge progression. Just for the record, I want to publicly state that I never wanted to screw on badges. Obviously, to try and make the shell as thin and resin as possible and all that sort of stuff, and then screw a badge through it was made gray matter drip out of my head. It was tough, and it was tough for me to deal with. But this is, going into Peavey, they have to have everything that has to have a non-removable serial number. So production's like, we have to bolt this to the shell, we have to bolt this to the drum somewhere and put a serial number on it. And so when you made drums, the only reason drums are made with serial numbers bolted to the shell, like you would bolt the, take your Martin and drill 2 holes to the soundboard of it and then put a nut through it, So I never wanted those. The chrome letters were just to ship some out. I know there's a question how many made with chrome badges. I think it's just those 2. We had some show came up or some, I can't remember why those came out that way. Those are too hard to apply. And then to talk about the silver and the gold badges, there is no gold badge. There are no gold badges. There are silver badges that stay silver over time and silver badges that fade to gold over time. But there are no gold badges, and it's weird how it's one of those things. I can't believe I'm 50 years old. I was 19 when I invented drums. So at 50, it'll be like, wow, those faded. So I have gold behind me right here. Are gold. So I have some of the gold badges that don't exist on the kit behind me. So just for the record, I never even had a drum set when I was at Peavey. For the whole time I was there, I bought this from a local music store after I moved back to Michigan. So Northern Engraving. Make the RBS 1 pages. I want to say yes. I'll get, that's kind of a Ritzger's question. I want to believe it was Northern Engraving. I can't believe you guys, I'm so impressed you guys tracked this crap down. But, Peavey vendors and all that sort of stuff. We used the Formby in the beginning. The Resitone stuff, I originally was thinking, I wasn't going to make the drums for everybody, knowing that most of the world will never change. If you can have people that are always going to drive a Ford, they're always going to drive a Chevy. If a Ford truck got 50 miles a gallon and cost $18,000, a Chevy and Dodge people are never going to change. That's kind of how it is. So I kind of thought I'm going to make the most resonant drum, and I'm not really going to worry about the finish side of it all. But getting down to Peavey, they really needed to. They really wanted to go the gloss coat thing. So the resin coat thing was a way to make the finish as thin as possible and still working as resonant as as it could be. Now, obviously, we went to full on finishes at the end. I'm really proud of those paint jobs, how they came out. I think the paint looks great on those drums, but it's really, really thin. And again, that was all Ritzger's that figured that out. He worked with several different paint vendors, and he would make trips to what's the casket company that all the trailers. You guys know Memphis. What's the casket company? White with green and black Batesville. Batesville Casket Company, there we go. So yeah, like, you know, all these different vendors, all these different people working on, and now a company isn't worried about the thinnest coating for residents, but everybody cares about it. People work on thin coatings for cost. But the concept was how thin could you get it and make it work like that. So Tom did a great job on that. The red kit at the PVO, that red kit that kit, I have some of it. I don't have all of it. It's actually this is one of the drums right here. It was never red. It was photoshopped red. There's a drum kit of the whole thing. So that color that was used in the catalog was done like that. The Peavey badges were made out of a film in the art department, and that drum set was put together. That was a kit. That was just one kit that was used. I had inventory for about 50 kits in Stephen Volpp Drums before I did the deal with Peavey, but I only had that kit in Mississippi. So that kit was shot and used all the first literature before the inventory was all trucked. Everything I had up in Michigan was trucked and transferred down to Peavey. I was thinking that was my Indy Cup, but it's actually the F Formula One Indy Cup, so it's not really the right cup for the day. So.
Almost. Is that
if you guys have been wrapped up in drums all day, I won't say who won Indy as a spoiler.
okay?
I never made any tom mounts attached to the bridge of the bass drum, and if so, what went wrong? I thought about doing that. One of the reasons I called Peavey in the first place was the fact that every patent and everything we had at Silver Street was always ripped off. We were in a fight over the dead ringer with Remo and the Remos, and I saw there was a sliding tom. There's been a sliding tom mount invented a month before, where it goes from like front or back of the drum. Some manufacturer had a slide that would go, and that actually would have been great here because you could have went bridge to bridge. And back in Michigan, I actually made one with two rods that went across the top of the bass drum and a sliding mount across the top. But I just didn't want to stay. There's patent stuff there, and I didn't want to get into. I just didn't want to get in anybody's patent soup. I had a respect for intellectual property, and I got this drums that I thought was revolutionary. I didn't want to get into something else to do that. And most pro drums are hung anyway. They don't load anything on the shelf, so I just kept everything off the bass drum, for that. I will say that just for the record, I never wanted to put the rims mounting system on. That's a Peavey story. I'll tell you that later, but maybe I get into it now. But I never wanted. This is one of those things to kind of record and get down. The mount that's on the 500s and the 750s was the mount that I had planned on making, and that mount not only does it mount there, but it has it's got the 5/8 27 thread to screw on top for gooseneck. But if you look at any of the early kits, if you got an early one out of Peavey, the bottom of that mount, I don't have one here, but the bottom of that mount had 4 holes in it, and that box was I also invented a microphone system. So I wanted the drums to kind of work like an Ovation guitar, where that you could plug in an Ovation and get 80% sound and it's okay. Now, right now, Ovation's kind of dated as an 80s sound kind of thing now, but keep in mind I was just coming out of the 80s. So, but I invented a microphone system, a condenser mic system, and I wanted the whole thing to be that way. I actually made a CD of the drums, and all this stuff was going to be collateralized in the Peavey with the deal. But they didn't want to release the mics because they thought it conflicted with a microphone they had in their line called the 357. And so my mics never made the light of day because Peavey's engineering department didn't want my mics to be developed. But anyway, when I showed Peavey the drums the very first time, it was a complete system. Here's the drum, here's the mics, just plug an XLR cord in, and here's the best drum sound you ever heard. That was my concept all along, to solve problems for drummers. That here's your drum, it's mic, it's just done. But anyway, I wanted those mounts to be that way. The vice president of Peavey at the time when I was putting a deal together, his name was Jack Wilson. He had a drummer friend named Joel Taylor, and Joel hated those mounts. And we had the drum deal done. These are the things that like minimal. I don't say minimalize like what color the backs are, but I had that drum deal was done. We'd shaken hands. I went to dinner with Hartley in Mississippi to celebrate that our deal was done. And then I went back to Michigan, and then everything goes dark, and when people don't call you back, it's almost always bad news, and things got gray, and they decided, well, maybe they don't want to do it now, which turned into we don't want to do it, which turned into they sent it to one drummer and looked at the drums, he didn't like the mount, so this guy loved rims. I mean, it was all about rims mounting systems. So so he didn't understand what the radial bridge system did. If you have a radial bridge, you don't need to put another mounting system underneath the mounting system.
Right.
So the only way I could get the drum deal back on with Peavey was to buy the rims, which cost a ton of money. So it really raised the price of the drums like crazy. We had a really good price point until we started buying rims, because we can't buy rims any cheaper than anybody else. So you're just buying rims out of somebody and then putting the rims on the 1000 series. And that again, like that was it was one of those things. I was young. I was 19 when I started got the drum idea. And I was 20 when I built the first stuff, and then it took me 6 years to get the drum company started. I didn't know anybody in the music industry. I didn't have any help. I didn't know what, other than what I did on Silver Street, but I didn't know what, I didn't come from like a family, my last name's not Ludwig. What do there was nowhere to go. So, and you make tough choices. And, that was half my life ago, but you go like, do I release the drums? Do I do the deal with Peavey, sign the check, the contract with Malia to get the drums put into production, but it has this rims on it, which doesn't make any sense, or I could say, no, I'm doing it my way, and then it would never ever happen. What do you do? That sort of stuff. But honestly, at 50 years old, those are still situations I sit around and think about. Should I have fought harder? What do you do? I don't know. We got them out there. You guys are all there. It happened. It wouldn't have happened if I would have compromised. But I don't. Those things don't need to be there. The 15-inch tom for Mugs came, that was a production thing again. We only had even sizes of production, so to make one odd one, it takes somebody 20 minutes to change the CNC to make a 15 instead of a, whatever, okay? We could make them anything we wanted, I want to play around with all sorts of things, like a timpani. The head, effectively the shell, is undercut and heads go over, and all that helps the resonance and everything. Well, you can't make on a regular drum when the bearing edge is a shell, you're locked into that size. But we didn't have there's a straight line from the bearing edge right down to where the shell is. If you cross section, here, I'm wondering. You guys know this. So if you cross section this, there's a line between that shell, but we didn't have to do that. So I wanted to play around. What if we made them half of an inch smaller? What if we made them half an inch bigger? What if we undercut them so a 14-inch snare drum actually had a 15-inch head on it? But it was, I don't know. There's so many things that would have been fun to play around with. But getting one of those drums out, getting anything that wasn't non-production was a pain in the ass. So Alex was absolutely awesome to work with. That was a cool experience. He was really that I could do a whole hour on the going to 50 as a Van Halen fan and a kid and all that sort of stuff going. I could do a whole long story on that. But the reason that didn't work, that whole thing's a heartbreaker. I'm we're all the same age pretty much. Van Halen was a big damn deal, right? Yeah. So Alex was not difficult to work with. We just didn't, and he never asked for one either. All he wanted was at 10, 12, 14, 16. He never asked for, he saw that 4-piece kit. He never asked for it. I don't ever remember him asking for an odd size. All Alex asked for that was non-production was he was using May mics. You guys remember the May mic system, the internal thing? Okay. So we had to do holes in the shells for the Mays. So at Peavey, there's this thing, if anything, one screw has to be changed away from production. $500,000 worth of CS800 power amps could go into an order for those could be made with no. If it was approved, it was in schedule. Somebody working in purchasing, making $25,000 a year, could have ordered $500,000 of transformers for those things. That went through Peavey just fine. But if I wanted to make one change, like drill holes for a May mount, couldn't do it. I had to get what was called a CMR change, a custom manufacturer request. And it had to be signed up by Malia, who had a lot of health problems, which also ultimately took her life with her migraines. Malia's in the hospital. I can't get the CMR signed, and I don't have the authorization to go to the factory and pick up a drill and drill a hole. So I know this, like, it sounds incomprehensible, like I'm a grown man, and I have fingers, I can work a drill, and I can put a bit in, and I can do stuff, but I couldn't. So that CMR sat with Malia to the point where Alex couldn't wait anymore and went back to Ludwig. So that was very frustrating. It's very frustrating to this day. I mean, he loved those drums. The shot the Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do video with the drums. If you guys ever want to go on YouTube and go to Van Halen, Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do, that black kit's in there. That's one of the points in my life. So back when there was a thing called, remember that thing called MTV? You ever heard of that? MTV?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I used to play music videos. It turns out that the letters MTV stood for music television. I know, who'd have thought, right? Okay. But there was this, so back on music television, they debuted that Van Halen video. That would have been January 95, right? 95. So the world premiere, the spinning logo and everything, and they play that video. First video they played was the year after the ball dropped, and they pan up to the Jumbotron when there was only one in Times Square, and that's playing the Van Halen video with the drums in it, and they fade to full screen, and I'm sitting in my living room in Meridian, Mississippi, like pretty much a happy boy. Then for a long, that whole story goes into play. I couldn't get the main mounts put in there. The whole thing fell apart.
Gotcha.
The Koa snares were made. There's a guy that ran Peavey guitars for a long time. His name's Mike Powers. He died a couple years ago. Mike would sneak his stuff, and he was a big help to the drum thing. There's a lot of competition inside of Peavey, division to division, but the guitar guys, we got along great. And Mike Powers helped steal some Koa that they were making bases out of. So we made a couple Koa snares just to hear what and we didn't actually make those snare drums for spec. We just made them because Tom and I could make them, and we had them around. And then when Alex thing came up, and then after that deal with Matt was really tied into his drum company, but he loved those snares, so we slid that Koa snare drum to store them, and then the other one off to Alex. But those drums were actually made before we ever had contact with Alex and Matt, and they just ended up there. So
there are two.
Yeah,
There is only
I'm
one.
going to say there's two. I'm really going to say there's two. One went to Alex, and one went to Matt.
Okay.
So I'm gonna testify, get sworn in here or whatever to the best of my brain ability. I'm gonna say there's two of those.
Okay. We kind of thought that there was one and a maple one, same dimensions.
No, the maple one was the standard size. Colleen has it.
It's
Okay,
supposed to be 8-inch.
I'll ask her.
got it. The wood on the 500 kits for the snare drums was just so we were just wrapping those and doing all that, and I think it was just easier to carry the design over while we went to the wood on those. We also made those. I think it was just easier to work with to try and get all the graphics and stuff involved. I don't think there was anything particular. It was a NAMM show time, and we got the idea to do that. We've been told about 7,000 times that the drums were never going to last. So at our 5-year point was kind of a deal for us. So it was fun to make those kits.
Gotcha.
Foam molding in Arkansas made the bridges for the 500s and the 500s and 750s, but the 701s and 501s, those are all molded in Taiwan.
Okay.
So those are all molded over there. Another set of dies and everything were created all that was made, or I may be wrong. I believe, I'm going to take that back. Foam molding made those until we started making them in Taiwan, then we shipped the dies to Taiwan, all the rest of them are made over there. So all of them, whether it was it was 500 or 501 or, like that, all those bricks, I take that back, all that stuff went over there. The hardware right with the kit was a company called Reliance International, which was already a vendor for Peavey. They were an important vendor, both ways for Peavey International. And they made all sorts of things, like the D-tuner on the Alex Van Halen Wolfgang guitar was made by the same company. Now I say the same company. Reliance is really an office that said sourcing all over Taiwan. And I've got a lot of pictures here. I've got a stack of pictures, photographs printed on film with emulsion on it, because I'm an old guy, about this thick, that I should all scan and put up on the site. I mean, all this, like the Taiwan factories, American factories, all that stuff.
That would be sweet.
Go ahead, see that?
It'd be sweet if you could scan those and post them.
Yeah, I've got a stack of stuff, man. I've got all these. I think I've got that on the web somewhere. That's the first kit. You guys maybe seen that one?
No, that one's purple, huh?
Yep, that was like my very first kit that I ever made. It was like that. It was really purple. One of the guys that owned a company called Shelby Gemstone Factory perfected Peavey zirconia for the retail jewelry market, and that's where. And one of those owners also on Silver Street, which was Dead Ringers and the guitars and that sort of thing. They own a company that makes layout fluid for the layout for the tool and die industry, where you put like this really thin lacquer on something for you to scribe or lay out into it. And I was trying to use their stuff as finishes, and it was really vibrant for a while, and then it went away. Is anybody there? Somebody made that first 8. Somebody got 8 made for him last week. I saw it on the site.
That's Tony. No, him and another guy made it together. And
there's the very first drum I ever made right there, and that's my son. I got home about 3 o'clock in the morning, really late, and got my kid out of. He was awake, and I got him out of bed and set him on my counter. It's like my first kid and my first kid. There's my 2 first kids. So that says I'm reading the back of this picture. It's October 23rd, 1991. Wow. So that's the very first drum I ever made, right there. So here's the Bobby Rock. All right, here's incriminating Bobby Rock for getting rid of that. There's 3 matching fanny packs. There's just me in the end. So fuck you, Bobby Rock. Absolutely love Bobby Rock. I love him. He's one of my favorite people I ever met ever. But anyway, that's me on the end, getting set up for an amp show. That's Matthew and Gunnar Nelson and Bobby Rock with their matching fanny packs. So there you go, Bobby. That was for you, Bobby. So let's see where we are here. Back on the hardware. So I didn't really even want to do. I didn't want to do hardware if it can't be fantastic. This was a big point of contention. Peavey dealers were buying the drums and they were sitting around on the floor because they couldn't put them together and they couldn't source hardware and didn't know what to do with it because they weren't really drum shops. As I'm talking to a dedicated drum shop who understands the difference between a music store and a drum shop, you can't anticipate everything, and it ended up being a deal. So the decision was made we'd sell more drums if we provided hardware, but we didn't have the time or resource to really. It's one of those Peavey, it's just a SKU thing where we need a hi-hat stand. Well, there's a hi-hat stand. We can buy one and sell it. It's like, yeah, well, it's a very Me Too product, and it's not even a good Me Too product. Yeah, well, that's what we're, and there's just a lot of leverage to, you guys are drummers, you understand. I mean, we could let's talk about bass drum pedals. We could stay till 10 o'clock talking about it, okay? Right. You get it. I mean, there's a feel, and there's a stroke, and there's a distance, and, and how's it, it's a thing. And if we're going to make hardware, it's got to be great. So I never wanted to make the drums with hardware. There's lots of great hardware out there, and these are really an upgrade kit anyway. You're not going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars for a 1,000 kit. Is that your entry point kit? Probably not, right? So I mean, my point was that you're going to, whoever's going to buy these drums, they already got a stand. They've already got a this. They've already got a that. But we, and why were we putting entry-level hardware with arguably the best drums? It drove me crazy. So I'll go to meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. You do this stuff forever. I never ever wanted that hardware, but Peavey dealers had to have it, and it was kind of mandated to the sales team. I would get, the reps and the sales manager get back to me like, we're the only drum company that doesn't have, it doesn't have hardware. I'm like, okay, well, why do you have to have hardware? If you can develop great hardware, but you got to, I don't know, does Sonar ever get their money back on tooling all that hardware that they did? I mean, that was a huge investment. You guys, how much Sonar hardware do we see around now? What did it cost to tool that stuff up, right? So there's great hardware, and most drummers probably have it. So if we make great hardware, that would be fantastic, but we don't have it. So anyway, it was Reliance International. It's the same company that does basically all what's branded as Dixon. They also make all the Gibraltar, all that stuff. It's all the same company that makes a lot of stuff for a lot of people.
Gotcha. We're probably down to about 15 minutes.
And then gotta go?
Yeah, we have to be out of this room at 5 o'clock Central Time. Start breaking down at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So.
All right, I'll speed this up. I didn't realize you have to be out of the room.
I'm sorry.
All right, for the Model 1, why don't the throat lugs go all the way through? It was a problem. It had to do with how the ultrasonic welding was done to put how those inserts were forced into that plastic. And again, that's something that they should go all the way through, depending on how you want to tune it, whatever. You should never have that bottom out. And it's one of those things that I really never, I wasn't a fan of that. Relaunch anytime soon? Not a relaunch. If I ever was to do it, I'm really lucky right now. I've got a great company. 12 years in, I have a live room in a control room over there, and it's in our office for Acme Branding Company. Without getting sidetracked, like that, but we got a really great company, and we do have music clients. We have Dean Markley, and we have NHT Audio and High Speakers, and we have ESP Takamine. So with those I do have music industry ties, that sort of thing. As far as like where they're agency for we do all the digital assets and everything for ESP and Takamine now. So I'm still tied to the music business, that side of it. But if I'm going to do the drums over, they're going to be. I've got an idea to make them different, make them better. I know how to make a one-ply shell now. I don't want to really divulge it all right here, but if I did, I'd do it different. But it's a different time. I mean, it's so, you guys care about sound and you guys care about it, but does everybody do that? And I don't really know. And it would take a long time to establish a brand, and put all that together. So I don't know. I don't want to say never, but I know I got a lot of ideas, and I'd like to get them out of my head before I get too old. But I'm going to say for at least the next 5 years, I'm totally dedicated to this company and where I am, and very, very invested in where I'm going, where we're going. So I would say no drums out of me for say 5 years, but I hate putting absolutes on it. There's no doubt. I coming in here, this is kind of like cracking a seal open. This is definitely a love, my passion, my whole life, everything I wanted to do. I always wanted. I always wanted to do this. Like suggestions for someone to launch a similar venture down the road. The hard part for me is I'm looking at the clock, make sure you guys get time to tear all that down. But a patent's 20 years, and for 10 of the 20 years, those drums weren't made, and that's a heartbreaker. That's a tough one to deal with, because they didn't really just go. I mean, it wasn't like the company failed, they went away or something like that. It's just Peavey got out of it. I never wrote that contract right. I never had the lawyers to write that thing right. And it's tough. I don't want to just, I don't want to turn this into a Harley Peavey bash. I don't want to do that, without, Harley met me, I was young, they took a chance. But between his wife dying and his parents both died, when I want to say, I'm not great on dates, but I want to say 6-9 months after his wife died, and within a year, his wife, I think both his parents died. He hired somebody else to run the company because, it's a tough thing to recover from, and Malia was such an integral part of that company. And, a lot of stuff changed, and Peavey is a lot smaller than it was, okay? I mean, it used to be a great big powerhouse company, and it's not anymore, and a lot of great people left. But I mean, that's the sort of thing where Peavey was growing like crazy when I got there. Signed some paper, got going, and it ended very different than I wanted to. But I guess the advice would be, the tough deal is, every idea we had, every patent we had at Silver Street got ripped off by somebody. Pin clips got ripped off. All the stuff we had, everything got ripped off. So I went looking for a big brother. The big brother I signed on for was fantastic. Yeah, I had to make some compromises, but that's what happens if you want to do something big. You want to do a really big deal, get with a big manufacturer. You got to make compromises. But then that company changed tremendously. And now, I've been gone 10 years, and it's a whole 12 years, whatever. It's a whole other company now. So you just can't see all that stuff. My suggestions are just go do it. Just go do it. You don't know you can't not do it because you don't know what's going to happen. I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I met the people I did. And, we took a chance. We did a thing, and, I got stuff. I was able to raise a family. I paid some bills, things like this. I got a bunch of these. I brought one of these, I got a bunch of these. That's Eve 6 inside out. So every time the world hears, which was until Nickelback's High remind me that had the record for longest number one. So every time the world hears "Want to Put My Tender Heart in a Blender," that's Peavey drums. I still, working with Don Gilmore. What an honor that was. The bass drum for the song "Sunset Strip Bitch" off the Horoscope record is still my favorite bass drum in the world. And that, doing that at NRG Studios and all those sort of things. It's a zillion memories, and It's an amazing thing, and it really, I mean, it catapulted me. I learned a lot. I ended up, moving out of the drum roll at Peavey into the marketing arts relations title, and man, I learned so much. And I couldn't, we got a company. We've got big clients. We've done Ford Fusion Challenge. We did the launch of the last of this generation Cord, ran all those national TV commercials. We got having a lot of stuff here. I never would have done without the experience. So, I mean, I know Peavey for all that stuff, but at the same time, it didn't work out how I wanted it. And so, I mean, you guys, don't want to get into crack my head open and, pour it all out for everybody. But, I mean, I struggle with it. I could easily get really pissed off, and then I get really thankful. And I really, I haven't really got it resolved. So this is where it'd be fun. I wish I was down there. I'd love to go have a beer with everybody last night and go eat pizza and do, whatever. It'd be cool. But there's that. I gotta hurry up. White finish not corrected. Man, I don't remember. People made white guitars all the time. We made a white kit and it was wrong, and then it was like that. I don't know. That might have been after I left. I don't know. I can't remember the specific. I'm going to go quick here because I can't remember the specifics of the white. Drumming background. I grew up a block from my high school. They had drums there. They had a marching band. It infected me. I don't really feel like I had a choice in this. I feel like something seeped out of that school from that drum line and went right into me. And I had to play. I got paper out when I was in 5th grade. I bought my first drum set. And I just was like that, and I went to Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp, and I marched drum corps. But what drove me to create it was the I didn't understand drums. No one in my family played. No one knew anything, and I thought really I blame it all on Boston's first record, 1976. I believe that record.
Yeah.
I blame that bastard Tom Schultz for all of it. And nothing sounded like that record. Nothing, right? You guys know.
That's right.
Nothing
sounded like that.
So I'm a little kid. I got this $150 drum set, and I go play it. And while More Than a Feeling doesn't sound like that to me, but it sounds like that on a record. And now we're older. Like that's actually that record has pretty shitty drum sounds. But the record as a whole, we never heard anything like it, right? So I didn't understand. So I read articles in modern. I got 2 sources of information. I got Car and Driver magazine, which we've been our biggest client for 11 years now. We host everything digital for them, the world's largest car magazine in this world. But I got Car and Driver and Modern Drummer. And I read stuff about bearing edges. So I started cutting my edges, and I screwed them up because I was a kid using power tools, and my dad was at work. And I would cut them down. I cut my bearing edges so poorly and so many times that I had to move my lugs down. Okay, so shorten my shells. Because this is like a 5th or 6th grader, right? It seems weird now that I would do that, but there were tools in my dad's basement, so I just started hacking them up. But I thought that drums were supposed to sound like drums on a record. And that's embarrassing to say, but if I wasn't that dumb, I wouldn't have started making this. So we were making guitars at Silver Street. I started realizing, well, the bridge takes all the tension, and then the wood does this, and then, okay, so the strings do that. So strings, bridge, shell, strings, bridge, shell. Well, my drums don't work like that at all. And then I'm old, so like Pearl had CZX as I highlight. The more money you spent in drumline, the thicker the shell was, not the thinner. The more money you spent, the more solid the lug. I mean, you got super classic lugs on your lug weights all the way down, So I just wanted to flip all that and make it as thin as possible. So we had all the CNC stuff up at Silver Street, and the guys from the Gemstone Factory had their own machine shop, and I should thank Larry Kelly and Art Kelly ran the machine shop, and Craig Hardy and all those guys helped me out, and we just figured it out. So it was all because I thought it was supposed to sound like that. I mean, you guys know, you sit behind that kit, you hit that bass drum, it sounds like a bass drum on a record, right? It's got that low end, it's got that punch. I'm a little kid who thought my drums were supposed to sound like they were on a record. So that's what happens when you're a dumb little kid and you're left alone in the basement with power tools. So and I can still count to 10. So
yeah, we love that.
So that kind of takes care of the questions on here. I know we're running out of time. I really, you guys doing this was a big deal. I really appreciate you coming down and doing this and taking the time. Got a microphone in my head here, right like that. I wanted to do this in here because I just wanted to put that kit behind it just for the. So you guys got to bring. You guys unbar yours. I got mine too. So I'm trying to fit in the group. But I'll try and get all these pictures up. And all the stuff I've got here, I've got all sorts of production pictures and stuff like that. I need to just get them all scanned. I really have a stack about like that. And I know you guys would just love to see, here's the router in Leaksville that made the drums. Every bridge.
Nice. Sweet. Nice. That's awesome.
This one, I mean, I should have just, my girlfriend, who's awesome, and I'm marrying on June 20th, which I'm very excited about.
Congratulations.
Told me I should just drive down. I mean, I should have just drove down. I should take all these pictures, just drove down. Showed her for dinner last night. Could have passed them around and swapped stories, and it would have been good. So, work on a date for next year. It's a big honor. You guys honor these drums and everything. I mean, it means the world. I skipped over the question of what does it mean to me because I'm not gonna cry over FaceTime like a baby, but to a group of a drum shop full of men I don't know, I mean, I know you, but you know what I mean. But anyway, but no, it means everything to me, and the fact that it's still alive. I told Jeff Moore, who's the vice president of ESP Guitars this week, I said, the fact that these guys are doing this is huge because nobody does this. And he's like, well, that's not really true. There's one other company in the whole music industry that does it. He goes, and that's Paul Reed Smith. I'm like, no, but that's factory sponsored. Like there's no group of players that get together. All the Gretsch guys don't get together on their own. Okay, all the Rickenbacker guitar players don't get together on their own. So, I mean, okay, it might only be 50 people that went through that this year, but it came together on its own. The fact that this organically lives, I mean, it'd be a nice, it's hard for me to not put my ego in play and get all over this and promote it because it's, it's kind of, but I'm glad you guys do this and like that. But the fact that there's no manufacturer, like the love of these drums and you guys and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it all sounds fun when you're going down, but driving home 8 hours tomorrow and Memorial Day traffic's gonna suck. And you're gonna be driving home like, was that worth it? Holy shit! Why did I do that? I mean, that means everything to me. I mean, that's a big damn deal. So, I mean, thanks a lot. I could never imagine that when I was 19, when I conceived these things and 26 into Peavey and all that sort of stuff, that I'd be, talking to you guys now and doing something like this. It's really cool. And I mean, I really think if I had the time and I was going to live forever, I'd make drums again just to put you guys on the list. So if I ever make anything, the first kits go to everybody in this room gets the first kits, and that's a promise.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you ever start building them again, Steve, I will be in line with check in hand to buy another kit.
Stephen,
right,
thank you so much
right.
I want to say thank you so much for your time on behalf of the group. We really appreciate it. We love the drums. And the driving factor here was Ron Hale putting this all together. And we thank you for being here. Thanks for Memphis Drum Shop for hosting it. But we got to run.
We got to go. All right,
we got to go.
Before you go, let's say this. Because I'm a myopic asshole and do all the talking, does anyone have any questions before I hang up?
When were the 5th anniversary kits put out? 1999 or 2000?
I'm gonna get back to you on that, Ron, because let me talk to Creative Pound. And I can't, I just don't have that stuff top of my head, and I don't want to be wrong. I got a couple. I wrote down notes. I'll get back to the board on that. I'll get you your answers.
Okay. Thank you so
All
much.
right, guys. All right.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.